Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Over Easy. My name is Manny. In case you're new here, or welcome back, and I hope you are doing well. I hope you've had an amazing week. Let's get into today's episode. I'm so excited, first of all, because 84 is actually one of my favorite numbers ever, coincidentally, and I just had such a big brain realization planning time this morning that I'm so excited for today's episode. I feel like it'll be really good and I'm really happy with what I have to share. I just feel like I don't know. Usually I make the episodes on the fly, which I am actually totally fine with because it is just super fun for me. But today it is a little more scripted and I have a lot of notes. So if I'm looking down at my book, if you're watching the video and you see that, that is why, is because all my notes are under the camera so I can refer back to them. But I am just so excited for today's episode. It's really freaking good, I think. I hope I can do it justice to the plan that I have in my mind. But let's start with a check-in because obviously that's what we do every week. So a rose, bud, and a thorn. A rose is a good thing. A bud is something I'm looking forward to. And a thorn is something that's not so good. I'm going to start with my thorn. My thorn is that I have a lot of split ends in my hair. This is so random. So I think I'm going to get a haircut. But the problem is that I've always had the same haircut growing up. For the longest time, I had to leave my hair super long because I used to dance. And now that I don't dance, I have cut my hair a little bit shorter. It's like just past my shoulders now. But I still just don't know what kind of hair suits me best. And I'm still going with like the same style, which is just basically like the shape of the ends is like a V. That's like what I've done always. Except for last year, I cut it up like basically by my ears, like a bob. And so my hair is like straight right now. So I need to get a haircut, but every time I need to get a haircut, it just stresses me out because I have no idea what I want to do. Like I do want to change it and do something fun, like I don't know, curtain bangs or whatever. But realistically, I know also that if I get something like curtain bangs, I am not high maintenance enough to deal with them every single day. Like I am just not the type of person to curl them every morning. It's just like that is just way too much effort for me. So maybe I should just go with like a little more low maintenance hairstyle. I don't know. So that's the thing about my hair is that I need to get a haircut because it's very split endy right now, but I also like don't like getting haircuts because I just never know what to get and I don't know what is best for me. So that's my thorn of the week. My bud. So first thing is I'm looking forward to this episode, of course. Like I said, 84 is my favorite number. And it was such a coincidence that this is episode 84 and I had such a good idea for this episode. I was just like, what the heck? Like the universe is aligning. My other bud is I am going to a little potluck tonight with some friends and meeting new people. And that's kind of like, it's exciting because I haven't done anything like this in a while, which is kind of lame, but that is fine. So that is that. I'm looking forward to that tonight as well. And I don't know. I feel like April is passing by so quickly. Like it blows my mind that like yesterday I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, like it's almost been 1 week since I've been 23. And then I thought about it. I was like, wait, no, it's almost been 2 weeks that I've been 23. That is how fast time is going. I didn't even realize. I was like, what the heck? So that's kind of scary, to be honest. April's going by really, really quickly for me. And I don't love that. I love it, but I don't love it. And then my rose. My rose would be that. What is something good that's happened this week? There were just a lot of cute moments this week, I guess. I could say that. Like at the beginning of this week, it was a couple of my coworkers' birthdays. So I bought a birthday cake for the entire office and everyone got some birthday cake. I'm just like a very gift giving person. Like I love giving to people. And so we ate some cake. We got fried chicken for lunch on Wednesdays. In case you don't know, my office, we get to order lunch on Wednesdays. Like that's one of the benefits, I guess. So we ordered fried chicken on Wednesday and I was like, heck yeah, that is so good. And then yesterday was also another one of my coworkers' last days, and I bought a bunch of flowers for her. Our whole office signed a card and we gave her the card, and it was just like very wholesome moments this week for sure. Also, this is very random, but so in case you don't know, I work in like a freight forwarding, logistics, and warehouse coordinator kind of position. So one thing that's like the main thing of my role is when people come to pick up shipments, like the drivers, they have to go through me and make sure they have the proper paperwork and everything is good to go for that shipment. And oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking about this, but there's just this one driver in particular, and a lot of the drivers, because we're in the same location, they drive in the Lower Mainland. I see a lot of them very regularly, so it'll be like every few days they'll come and pick up a shipment. I'll be like, oh my God, how is it going? You know, I've gotten to know a lot of the drivers and they're all really nice, and this is like one of my favorite things is like being able to talk to different people. Like I think that is one of my favorite things right now. And so there's this one driver that I see quite regularly because he works for a company that does a lot of the shipment like delivery and stuff like that. He is just really cute. Like that is what I will say. I've always thought this since I met him. And yesterday, so usually he wears glasses, and then yesterday he came in and he was wearing contacts. So we had like a little conversation. I was like, oh my God, did you get contacts? Like, looks so good. And then he's like, yeah, and then I also got this new sweater from Value Village. I was like, oh my God, looks amazing. I was just like, we just had like a very lighthearted conversation, and I don't know, it just made me really happy because obviously he's really cute, and it was really fun to talk to him. So that's my other rose. I've been thinking about it since yesterday. It happened yesterday. Oh my God, I'm so lame. But yeah, that's what happened. Anyways, that's my rosebud and thorn. Let's do a little affirmation. I actually haven't done one this morning. I forgot to bring my affirmation cards to the cafe where I was journaling this morning. So I do not have an affirmation either, and we will do this together. I will say I have started getting repeats. I think I've gone through the whole deck now, and that is totally fine, but it's just an observation. Dun, 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 dun. Ready? You deserve the best. That is the affirmation of the day. That is very cute. You do deserve the best. Okay. Before we get into the meat of today's episode, I will just kind of give you an update, I guess, about my breakup because it's been almost a month now. So I will say this week has probably been the hardest week by far for me. I don't really know why. I just think it's because I finally am resting right now. This is the first time since my breakup that I'm not like actively working towards something. So obviously I'm working in the mornings, and then last month in the afternoons I would be studying, taking my GRE or working on my application. But all of that is submitted now and I'm done, and I don't really have any like concrete goal that I'm working towards. I say that in quotations because I still have goals, but it's not like a timeline goal, you know what I mean? So I've definitely been chilling a lot more this week, and that's good. That's what I want because I feel like I've been kind of on overdrive recently. But I think because of that extra time, I have kind of succumbed to a few bad habits. First one is that obviously I'm ruminating a lot more. I ruminate a lot. It's one of my bad habits, and I try not to do it. But obviously when I have a lot of time, it's not like I can't help it sometimes. So because of that, I was just thinking a lot, also thinking a lot about like what ifs. And so that made it really hard this week. And then also another one of the bad habits I succumbed to this week was I've been watching a lot of TikTok. Like my screen time was so bad this week. But I will say on Thursday, I deleted the TikTok app off my home screen. So I still have it on my phone, but I don't watch TikTok anymore, and my life is drastically changed. I'm not being dramatic at all. So that it has definitely been a really hard week. Like at work, I'm distracted and I have things to do, but when I'm like by myself at home at night, I get really sad sometimes because naturally I've lost a really big part of my life that has been a part of my life for the last 3 years. And so we're slowly getting over that. I will also say that I think this is very important, like this phase of being sad, because had I kept going on overdrive, doing more things like my application, my GRE, all this stuff, I don't think I would have fully healthily coped and like gotten over, or just like coped with the breakup, because obviously just distracting yourself and pushing down those feelings doesn't really help. It's just another inevitable explosion that will happen down the line. So I think the opportunity that I'm giving to myself right now to heal and to just rest and to pause is better for me, obviously, even though it sucks in the current moment when I am sad. That's like a lesson I've been learning, I think, this time around. It's just that a lot of times in the current moment, we do things that will hurt temporarily, but in the long term, it is obviously a lot better for us, and it is something that is needed. So that is my break update. Break update. And I'm feeling a lot better already, and I feel like it was mostly at the beginning of this week, because actually on Sunday was my ex's birthday, and obviously thinking about the fact that, we're not celebrating together this year, and the fact that it was my birthday last week also made me quite sad this year, because my birthday looks a lot different this year than I have in previous years. So these last 2 weeks have definitely been pretty hard for me, but I am slowly getting better and bouncing back and slaying. So that's what I will say. Okay, today's episode, let's get into it. I'm so excited. It is, I don't even know what to call this yet. Right now I have it titled as the ultimate growth episode. So I obviously am taking this breakup with a positive attitude and seeing it as an opportunity for me to grow and for me to develop. I think that's like one of the biggest reasons why we broke up in the first place, is because we both had growth that we wanted to do that we just couldn't do while in the relationship. So now I think I am really like taking that and running with it, like taking charge of my growth and not letting it just pass and not being passive about it. One reason why is because I'm reading a new book. I'm reading a self-help book that is called The 15 Laws. Wait, let me pull out the book just so I don't say the title wrong. Oh, shoot. Sorry, that fell on the floor. The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. I think I talked about this last week, that I was reading this book, and I've just been slowly going through it. And it has been very eye-opening for me, and just also forced me to reflect a lot, which is very important. And also just kind of build a plan of my growth, which I will talk about today. So I hope you are also maybe someone that wants to grow, and maybe you don't know how. Today's episode is going to be all about reflecting, thinking about why you want to grow, where you need to grow, how you're going to grow, all the rules that I have discovered about growth through reading and through my own experience, and what we need to do to grow. So it is going to be a big jam-packed episode, and I really hope that you enjoy. So before you put in action into growing and doing that, it honestly feels really vague when you say, I want to grow. This period of my life is growth. Like, what does that even mean? Does that mean grow physically, growing bigger and stronger and taller? Or like, what does that even mean? I feel like a lot of people are very overwhelmed by that, because it can also be just such a big hurdle. It's just saying I want to grow doesn't allow you to measure your growth, doesn't allow you to know what direction you want to go. And for that reason, the very first thing that you need to do is develop a growth plan. So what you need to do, what I do, whatever you want to do, this is what I have found helpful, is you need to evaluate your current life very, very honestly and subjectively. Obviously, because you're trying to build your own dream life, it's going to be subjective to you, your dreams, your values, and your goals. So I will give you a little bit of examples of how I have journaled over the last few weeks. But the biggest overarching question, I guess, that you want to think about is, do you have a vision for your life? Because, let me adjust that. Do you have a vision for your life, and is it honest and authentic to who you are and who you want to be? Because I feel like when we are children, a lot of the future goals and the visions that we have are actually determined by the people around us. My parents, for example, for me, ever since I was growing up, nailed it into my head how important it was for me to go to university and finish my bachelor's degree. And at this point, I don't even know whose true growth, like who really wanted that. Was it really me who wanted that? Or was it more so me, I wanted that because my parents wanted that for me? So I think what's really important is to really rediscover yourself and think about, what do I want genuinely and authentically? And I think to get to that point, you also have to know yourself really, really well. So let us talk about what I have journaled about. This week in particular, I've actually been journaling about the blueprints that I have in my mind. Because when you grow up, as you learn, a lot of the definitions of success, of love, of friendships is built around who taught it to you, right? Like, my definition of love for the longest time was based on my parents who got divorced and didn't have the healthiest marriage. And a lot of times I was basing my definition and image of love off of them. When I think about it, obviously I don't want a marriage that mirrors theirs. There are still positive elements from their marriage that I take, that I want to emulate in my own, but there's also a lot of other things that don't match, and I can make my own definition, which is really, really important. So let's see. The blueprints that I have been thinking about this week, the first one, all these questions come from Single on Purpose, which was the book that I was reading last week, which I talked about. But the first one was, what does success look like? Really thinking about, what does being successful mean? It is such a vague word. You want to think about, at the end of your life, how will I determine that I've had a successful life? How will I determine that I am being successful right now? And honestly, I am still hesitant about using the word successful because it has been used in such negative ways, I would say, or just such restricting ways, that I find that it is very hurtful. But that is why we're going to evaluate the current blueprints that you have in your mind and also build new ones. So here's what I wrote for, what does success look like? Success looks like achieving my goals, whether they're about career, fitness, or personal growth. So I am already successful, but of course there's always more to work towards. Currently, my goals are to find a meaningful career that helps others, to be happy and healthy, and to maintain balance in my life, and more. Success also looks like living a life I am fulfilled by, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, etc. So for me, you can obviously tell success is, to say it in a blunt way, success has a very low threshold in my definition. As long as I am making myself happy for the long term, not being a hedonist, obviously, I imagine myself as successful. Because, and the reason why I have, I guess, such a low bar is because honestly, life will make it hard enough for you to feel like you are being impactful, to feel like you are achieving your goals. There's no reason for you to hold yourself down like that as well. I think one of the most important things is that you carry yourself with an energy that is empowering and lifted, because with that energy, that is how you go into the world. And so what I mean by that is, if you are a person that carries yourself with an energy that is very shy and not confident and very weak, then other people, when they perceive you like that, there's less opportunities for you. You know, people will automatically assume, oh, she's not very confident in herself. She doesn't believe that she can take on these opportunities and all that. So when you present yourself that way with that energy within you, other people are going to take that up 10 notches and be like, this is not a person I want to consider to offer special opportunities to, whether that be about career or growth or personal. This is not someone I want to spend my time around, so I'm not going to hang out with them and do fun things with them. You need to carry yourself with an energy that shows to yourself and to other people that you are capable, competent, and able to do anything that you put your mind towards. And so that is why I think with the definition of success, it's so important that you believe you are successful first, because that is where all the true empowerment comes from. You can't be dependent on validation from other people. That is very hurtful long term and also not sustainable. The second question and blueprint that I had was, what does dating look like? I wrote, when I am ready to date again, I am going to focus on connecting with people and getting to know them for who they are, not their potential, for who they say they are, etc. Dating is working together to build a safe space/relationship where both people can be authentic and raw with each other. That's pretty self-explanatory. One of the biggest traps that I think a lot of us fall into is that we will date someone for their potential, and it's really hurtful for both you and your partner, because obviously for you, you feel like you're constantly disappointing them. You're never enough because you are not your potential. You're just who you are right now. And it feels like you have to, like, the love is conditional, not unconditional, which is really hurtful. And then it's obviously really hurtful for the partner who's dating them for the potential, because you will constantly be disappointed because you have high expectations. There's that quote where it's like, expectations minus reality is equal to disappointment. So obviously if you have really high expectations, if the reality doesn't meet that, you're left with a lot of disappointment. This one kind of hits for me because I feel like I've gone through that in both of my relationships at this point, where I am seen for my potential, but I just kind of want to be seen for who I am right now. And it's a balancing act, of course. You want to find someone who is amazing right now, but also will continue to grow into an amazing person. Yeah. So what does dating look like? That's the second blueprint that you want to think about. If you are single, if you're currently in a relationship, I think you can still think about it, because maybe there's new ways that you can improve your relationship or your connection with your partner. The third question is, what does fitness look like? For me, I said, to me, fitness looks like doing movement that I enjoy as often as I would like. It doesn't have to be every day, but I know that exercise makes me feel good. Thus, why wouldn't I do it more? Why wouldn't I want to do it more? Sorry. It can also be whatever type I'm craving that day or week. Some days I feel high energy and want high interval intensity training. I also, I honor that. Other days I keep it chill and walk. I also honor that. Fitness has no set guidelines. As long as I'm enjoying it, that's all that really matters anyway. I'm personally very happy with my current fitness journey and state. So evaluating your life in fitness. Are you where you want to be? Are you doing what you want to do. And I think fitness is just so important because for me, or at least I think for everyone, there's two sides. It can offer you a place where you can connect with yourself, because obviously a lot of people go to the gym to feel connected to their bodies, to just be in their own mind and just relax and disconnect. But it can also be another way where you meet other people. My gym in particular, I do a lot of fitness classes, and it's always the same people going to the fitness classes every single day. And because of that, naturally, I've gotten to know a lot of the people that are at the fitness classes. And it's nice to have a familiar community, even if you're not besties with all of them. It's nice to have a familiar community that you can connect with over common interests. Obviously, you're all interested in fitness. I think also just physical health is very important. I mean, I and everyone knows that we're not going to live forever. And obviously, we want to maintain an optimal life as long as we can. So I think physical health will get you there. So the next part that you want to reflect on is, where are you at with your fitness? What does being fit mean to you? What does fitness look like to you? What is your definition of fitness? Is it you do yoga? Is it you just go on walks? Is it you do classes and you want to sign up for a class? Does your definition of fitness involve the community, connecting with other people? Or do you prefer being by yourself, going to the gym? I don't know. There are so many aspects of fitness that need to be kind of personalized towards you. So I think it's really important that we think about that. Okay, next one. What does self-care look like? While it can be about face masks and bubble baths, I believe self-care is about making decisions that would benefit my future self, even if those decisions are hard or painful right now. For example, washing the dishes before they pile up, eating home-cooked, nutritious meals rather than eating out every day, etc., etc., etc. There's also no more perfect example than my breakup with my boyfriend. We made a painful decision now for the sake of our long-term happiness and growth. Just got to remember that. I think self-care is really important because it doesn't even have to be the word self-care. It can be the word alone time. It can be the word personal time. It doesn't have to be the word self-care. I more so want you and me to think about, when you're alone, what does that look like? When you are making decisions for yourself, what does that look like? For me, what's really important is making decisions that benefit. There's a balance between benefiting me now and also benefiting me in the future. I can't obviously only think about me now, because then, I don't know, I'll spend all my money. I'll have no money in the future. I will eat all the delicious food that I want now, but probably be pretty unfit in the future and not live a healthy life. There might be like high blood pressure and cholesterol and all that. So what does living right now, I think what's more important to think about is maybe like, what does your balance of the present versus the future look like? Do you more so prioritize now and kind of think about later? Or do you really value the future a lot more than right now? I've seen a lot of, this is kind of a side note, a tangent. I've seen a lot of like investment bankers or like corporate finance girlies who, I don't know, I remember this one TikTok in particular that I watched where she was like working from 7:30 until like 12 at night, obviously with breaks like fitness and stuff like that, but she was still at the office, and then she would go home really late at night. I think she went home at like 10 p.m. and still worked until like midnight or 1 a.m. And all of the comments were like, girl, that is like a terrible lifestyle. Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, I could never do that. And the girl commented back, the original creator of the video, saying that, she really prioritizes her future. So that is why she's working so hard right now, maybe doing really unhealthy hours, because she wants to have this income now that she can invest and, have more later on. So I think it is important to have a balance of both now and future, but it is up to you to determine how much of each is prioritized. Maybe you're like a 50-50. Maybe you're like a 30-70. I have no idea. It's up to you, right? And also how you grew up and all that, like that changes how we value things. Next and last is, there's two more, sorry. Next one is, what does spirituality look like? For me, I said, this is so hard because I'm not even really sure what spirituality means, to be honest. I think personally it is going with the flow of the universe and having trust that it will bring you what's meant to be in your life. Not to say that life is passive and you just coast. You can also help the universe by telling it what you want and what you are hoping for. I think if you put good energy into the universe will bless you. I am a lucky girl. Everything always works out for me. Yeah, so thinking about, there's a lot of, I think, bigger picture spirituality is kind of like, what do you think about the things that you cannot control? Because there are going to be a ton of things you cannot control in this life. How are you going to cope with and accept that these things are not controllable? I think that is like a bigger overarching question of spirituality. For me, it is, I put faith in knowing that whatever the universe brings to me is meant for me. As I said, obviously I can help it. Tell it what I want with affirmations and with goal setting. But also knowing that things that come and things that go, the universe knows what's best for me and what I need at this time. That's kind of my belief with it, but obviously everyone's can look very different. So the overarching question that you want to reflect on is, how do I look at things that I cannot control? Or what does spirituality look like? Okay, the last blueprint picture that I have, I actually just reflected about this morning. What does singlehood look like? So singlehood is all about reconnecting with yourself and building a strong relationship with yourself. That's kind of vague still, so let me get more specific. One important part is rediscovering your values as an individual. Our values and priorities shift when we are in a relationship to accommodate our partners. And the love goggles we wear also impact what we think we want out of our lives. So I think singlehood is when we're given the opportunity to realign our values and priorities again. To know what we want and don't want out of our future so that we find someone who matches that rather than having to accommodate or change something so important to us. My current phase of singlehood is all about being obsessed with myself and doing what I want, even if that means doing things alone. I'm still practicing enjoying my own company, and I've been loving it a lot more. Everyone says that when you enjoy your own company, you won't tolerate anyone else's company that makes you feel less than. My singlehood also looks like filling my cup first before pouring into anybody else. What I mean by that is fulfilling my mind, body, and soul's needs with more than enough. I have enough time such that I don't need to compromise anything anymore. I'm in my villain era. I will recommend Peyton Sarton's podcast called Note to Self. She did one episode about being in your villain era and also another episode about, I can't even remember what the title was, but she does a lot of good episodes about singlehood and being in your 20s, and I have really enjoyed them, and I've been listening to them a lot this week. So that is kind of where I picked up those terms from, being in my villain era and all that, being obsessed with myself. So for me right now, my era of singlehood is really just rediscovering myself and what is important to me, because I'm in my young 20s. I have no idea what's going on in my life. That's something I'm still trying to figure out. And so those are the first few journal prompts, or kind of like evaluating where your current life and the definitions of all these aspects of life that we have. I still have a lot more journal prompts, so let's go into that. I feel like this episode's going to be so long. I am sorry in advance. Okay, one important journal prompt that I did this morning, I literally just came up with it on the fly this morning, which I'm very surprised about, is a growth plan. It's part of the growth plan. So what I did is I drew a little stick figure of myself, and I imagined it as future me. I've definitely heard a lot of other journal prompts like this. So I definitely like have seen this before. It's not like I created this, but I was pretty proud of myself for thinking about this morning. So I drew a picture of myself. I drew a stick figure because I'm not good at drawing. But I looked at that future me and I looked at the elements of her and what each body part would be doing, would be like in the future after my growth. Growth is obviously a lifelong process, but you know what I mean. So first, I put a little number 1 by my mind because my mind is something that's very important to me and in my growth. And so I labeled my mind in the future, in my future self. My mind is a positive place to be. I have a positive mindset and healthy attitude towards myself and what I want to accomplish. I have a growth mindset and I don't rely on the validation of others. I have the discipline and the ambition to reach my goals. So what I did was essentially like just envision what I want my mind to be like in the future. And so those are kind of the words that I thought of. It doesn't have to be full sentences. It can be words. Like maybe mind, when you think about it, is like thoughtful, kind, positive, optimistic, ambitious, disciplined. All these different types of words. Maybe mind isn't even in your future goal plan. Like maybe mind is something you're already really happy with. But for me, the mind is still something I want to develop. So those are the things that I want. Number 2, I labeled it as my throat. And I said, my words are thoughtful and kind, both to myself and others around me. I say things I mean and my words are genuine. My words aren't used to impress others or tear others down. I am a big words of affirmation person, so words are obviously very important to me, and your words come from your voice box, which is why I labeled my voice box. And so those are kind of what I want to work towards with my voice in particular. The last little part of the stick person me that I labeled, number 3, was my heart. So I said, my heart is full of love. It protects itself from those who are ingenuine or may hurt it, but overflows with love for the people on our team, in our circle. My heart gives love to itself first and fuels the actions that I do. It is not selfish, it is giving, it loves even if it may hurt in the end and the person isn't in our life forever. So that is a really good exercise to kind of envision, like tangibly envision how you want to end up, because obviously, like I said, growth can be very vague and not specific. We don't exactly know what we're supposed to do, but I think having an image of who you want to be and an idea of that really helps with actually being able to build tangible steps towards our end goal. Okay, a few more journal prompts that you need to think about before you start growing. First one is the mind, body, and soul connection. So I talked about this a little bit last week, I believe, but just evaluate where you're at with your connection to your mind, your body, and your soul. So body means physically. How do you feel? Are you connected to your body? Are you where you're at fitness-wise? Again, kind of like we talked about, what does fitness look like to you? Your mind connection is, are you doing things that is intellectually stimulating for you? Is your mind being challenged, learning? And the soul is kind of, I want to kind of frame it as your soul is basically like your inner child. How are you connecting back to your inner child? And I will give examples of what I'm doing to connect to those 3 aspects in a little bit. So evaluate your mind, body, and soul connection. Are you doing these things on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis? Where are you at? What are you doing? Does it make you feel fulfilled? How do you feel about your mind, body, and soul? Like all that. Last but not least, the last journal prompt we're going to talk about is, what are your values and priorities? And again, a little bit vague, but I do have a little bit of a specific way that my counselor actually taught me. So when you're thinking about your values, obviously a lot of us are like, oh, being nice. That's so vague. When you think about your values and what you prioritize in terms of your values, think about your pet peeves. So for me, my pet peeves are when people are late, when people do the bare minimum not when they do the bare minimum, but it's when they show up to something unprepared. My pet peeves are people who talk too much. Very specific instance, though. Not everyone who talks too much, just like a specific instance of talking too much, but I'll get into that another time. And okay, those are kind of my main pet peeves. So you want to flip that back around, your pet peeves. Those are the values that you value. So for example, someone who is late, that's my pet peeve. I flip that back around and I say, okay, so I value punctuality. I value being prepared. Again, with my second one, my pet peeve is when people show up unprepared and don't know what's going on. My value is being prepared, putting in the effort to show that you care about something. I don't know how to say that concisely, but that's my value. Last one was, what was my pet peeve? Oh, people who talk too much. One of my values is listening. So think about your pet peeves and then flip them back around, and that will really help you with what do you value. Priorities also, this one I kind of more think about as in like, what aspects of your life do you prioritize right now? Because obviously we can't do everything all at once. So is your priority your job? Is your priority your alone time? Is your priority your fitness? Is your priority your food, what you're nourishing your body with? Is your priority moving out? I have no idea what your life circumstances are, but what are the priorities that you have in your life right now? All right. So now that you have done all that reflection, I think this will really help you with determining where you are in your life right now in terms of what do you think about where you're at and how do you want to move forward? Like, what do you want to do to move forward? Or like, what does your future look like? What are your goals? So there are a couple things that I want to remind you of. I guess the next few bullet points are kind of like, as you start to grow, these are really important things to keep in mind. So the first one is that growth is intentional. You must put effort in, and it doesn't just happen passively. So this one is a big mindset thing because I feel like a lot of people will not prioritize being active in their growth. They'll kind of always think of distractions and excuses to put it on the back burner. For example, for me, after my breakup, one thing I could have done is just immediately get back on the dating apps and start dating again. But that wouldn't really help me grow. That would just kind of distract me from where I want to go. It would be a distraction from the growth because obviously I'd be getting to know someone else. I'd be building something with someone else. And when the foundation that I have with myself is not the strongest yet, I think a relationship is the strongest when you build a relationship that is built on strong foundations, and the foundations are you and your partner. Do you have a strong grasp of who you are, where you want to go, what your future visions are? So I think, a lot of us don't take growth and really like see it as something we need to do and schedule. And for the longest time, I didn't either. It wasn't really until recently I'm like, oh, like I need to really prioritize this in my schedule. Maybe make like a new calendar for it, right? Like in my iCal, I have work, I have morning routine, I have gym. Like those are all different calendars in my iCal. But maybe I need to make a new one that's like self-growth, and then I can schedule in the times that I can grow. And I will talk a little bit more about this either, like scheduling growth in. But just know that it is a lot of effort and it doesn't just happen. So it's a big mindset shift. Another thing is you won't see results right away. I can't remember what it's called, but it's in Atomic Habits where it's like you will plateau. It will feel like you will plateau until you look back at where you started and it feels like a huge change has happened. It's like the latent I cannot remember what it's called for the life of me. I know it's like a little graph in the book. I can like picture it, but I have no idea what it's called. I completely forget. But I feel like a lot of us just give up so fast because we set all these goals, we do our little actionable steps, and then after 3 days or 3 weeks, we're like, I feel the same. Nothing's happened. Okay, I'm going to give up. Bye. But you have to realize that a lot of things don't happen overnight. I think this is the social media brain in us that is kind of taking over. Before social media, a lot of us weren't hooked on instant gratification and immediate change. So just know that you won't see results right away. One example I'll give you is with my fitness. So I have been doing these fitness classes since early 2022. I've definitely gone in ebbs and flows where some phases I'll do fitness classes every single day like I am right now, and some flows where I will do no fitness classes for a month. But all in all, I've started doing them, I believe in February of 2022, so early 2022. And if I compare myself now to February 2022 me, it's like a mile of a difference. I can lift heavier weights. I have better form. I am able to run longer on the treadmill. But obviously, every single class, when I'm there day in, day out, it doesn't really feel like I'm doing much change. I actually only recently this week upped my weights in one of the classes. So on my Thursday class, it's not the high interval intensity training class. It's like a weightlifting class, but it's super fast paced. Like, it's not about how heavy you can lift, but more so about, do you have the stamina? Do your muscles have the stamina to do like 100 reps at a time? Literally like 100 reps sometimes. So for the longest time, I was doing the lightest weights, and I didn't really feel much day in, day out. I was like, oh my God, this class is so hard every single week, until this Thursday I went to the class and I decided to up one interval on the weights. And when I was doing the class, I was like, oh my God, like I'm surviving. I didn't really I didn't really realize that I would survive if I upped the weights. Another example is we do a kettlebell themed class on Friday nights, and every week we do, I like the kettlebell class because you do the same exercises pretty much every week. And while it might get boring, it's a really good way to be able to compare yourself to where you were at a month ago, where you were at a week ago. And for the longest time, when I started this class, the Friday class, I couldn't even lift a purple kettlebell above my head, which was the lightest one. So we would do like kettlebell cleans, which is basically like picking the kettlebell off the floor and then lifting it up to your shoulder. And when I started the class, I had trouble lifting the kettlebell above my shoulder, the lightest one. And I compare that to now, where I'm using the blue kettlebell, which is the next weight up, and I can do it, and it's actually getting easier now. Like, it's actually getting easy to lift the kettlebell above my head and do cleans. I'm like, what the heck? So day in, day out, when I'm doing the class, I don't really feel a difference. But then I kind of take a step back and I look at, wait a sec. When I started doing this class, my very first time doing this class, the kettlebell class, I couldn't even lift a purple kettlebell. And now I'm doing blue, and I'm even making it to yellow. Yellow is like the one step up above blue. That is crazy to me and really, really motivates me to keep going. So that is why another thing with your growth is intentional. It's really important to constantly be reflecting. And I'll talk about why this is important later, but it is so important to constantly reflect. So let's talk about what I have been doing to grow intentionally. What are some things that I am doing in my life to intentionally keep growing? So one thing is doing things alone. Last week I went to a pottery class by myself. I have been just spending more time alone and also like doing productive things alone. You can spend your time alone, but just spend it scrolling TikTok. And okay, I have also done my fair share of that too. But being intentional about your growth and doing things alone means putting away those distractions that are easy for us to cop out on and actually like being stuck with yourself, being stuck with your thoughts. Another thing is I've been really, really intentional about reconnecting with the things that I love recently. So I don't think I talked about it on my podcast, but I did talk about it on my vlog. Now that I have a bit more spare time, I'm done my GRE and I'm done my application, I've been going back to things that I want to genuinely learn. So that is, for me, doing math and coding. These are things that I've learned before, but I kind of forgot about them throughout the years. And going back to them and just doing them for fun. No expectation of taking tests, no expectation of having to be good, but it's just genuinely learning new things, exploding my mind, expanding my mind, and challenging myself with these new ideas. I've been loving math and coding. I've been doing a Python class with Code Academy. Not sponsored, don't worry about it. But it's free, it's very laid back and chill. You go at your own pace, and it's just been so much fun for me. Other things are, like I said, I did pottery last week. I love pottery. I have been doing fitness classes. Those are things that I do every single day. I am going on and doing activities that I like bouldering. I'm going to do that later this afternoon. Like, you have to really force yourself to do these things. And it's not easy. I think some people might hear me and be like, well, it's easy for you. Like, you are motivated and outgoing. But I want to stay at home and be on my phone as well too. I'm just forcing myself to do these things because I know that this will help me with my growth. Other things that I do is like journaling and reflection daily, and also reading. I think reading is a great one as well. So the first idea is that growth is intentional, and you have to be purposeful in your growth journey. You can't just expect it to happen. You need to make it happen. Make it a reality. Show to yourself that it's important and that you want to do this by making commitments to yourself. Whether it's being intentional, like, okay, every single week for at least 2 hours, I'm going to be off my phone and do something that I like just for fun. Or it can be like every single morning, I'm going to read 5 pages of a book. Or it is for 1 minute every single day, I am going to think about my goals. So it can be a varying amount of time. Sometimes I think we are very scared because we feel like we have to commit a lot. But you can start with just taking a small step and saying, okay, the first thing is 1 minute every single day of deep breathing. That's something I do every single morning. And it's super low time commitment. And it helps me out. It helps me be more grounded. It helps me be more mindful. So growth is intentional. You have to put in the effort. And if you are still not motivated enough to be intentional about it, this is where we go back to the journaling at the beginning, which is you have to think about your why, your purpose, and your motivation. You have to think about, why do I want to grow? Because if you don't have a why, you don't have a motivation to go back towards it, you honestly won't make it. I'm going to be honest. Do you have a strong enough why and vision for yourself that when you go through these hard days and you don't want to get out of bed, you still will get your ass up and do what you need to do? So that is why I think the preliminary journaling and growth plan and life evaluation is just so important, because without that reflection and knowledge of where you are and who you are, it's going to be really hard to grow because it's not easy. And it's going to be really easy to quit and cop out unless you have a really strong intention and purpose. Okay, the second thing, my second main idea, I guess, is your future is determined by what you do every single day, aka your habits. Your habits are literally like your guiding stones to the future that you want to live. So you need to kind of evaluate, are your current habits leading you to where you want to go? For me, for example, I was on TikTok for hours every single day. And when I think about it, that's not really bringing me to where I want to go. I would always make excuses like, oh, watching TikToks gives me inspiration. It gives me ideas for what I could do with my content. But that was just a cop out. I was just trying to see like how much I could watch. And honestly, like I would watch to the point where my brain would literally feel full. I don't know. That's like probably not possible, but it felt that way. And it was just so not good. So that is an example of a habit that I was doing every single day that wasn't helping me to where I want to go. In fact, I was wasting hours that I could have been sleeping and taking good care of myself and just like doing other things, for goodness sake. Like honestly, these last 2 days that I haven't had TikTok, I've felt so much better because it's not that I'm even like doing much more. It's just that I feel so much more, like so much less overwhelmed, I guess you could say. So that's my example. Other examples might be talking negatively to yourself. This can still be a habit, even though it's less tangible, I guess. But if you are constantly in the habit of talking down upon yourself, thinking that you can't reach your goals and saying negative things about yourself, that has real ramifications to the future that you're going to live, because you are going to be feeling less confident and less able in yourself. You're going to feel like you're just going to be seeing yourself as weak and not strong. And other habit examples that might not be good are limiting beliefs and putting limiting beliefs on yourself. So feeling like, oh, I could never do that. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Another one I just thought of on the fly that I am kind of still a victim of is comparing yourself to other people. Like these are all habits because we get so used to doing them every single day, but you have to be really intentional in like kind of breaking these habits, breaking these mindsets, breaking these thought patterns, and like carving new ones for yourself. So on the flip side, we've kind of talked about, okay, what are your current habits doing and what does that lead you to? The flip side is what habits will lead you to your goals. So depending on where you want to be in your growth. For me, that is journaling and reflecting, doing that every single day. These habits will help me keep me on track with where I want to go in my life and checking in with myself, and also like maintaining my mental and emotional health. Daily movement. That is a habit I do every single day that keeps my body healthy and keeps my body like lasting forever, I guess you could say. Learning and reading, those are two habits that I have been recently more focused on because one of my goals is to expand my mindset and my perspective. And also putting on a cute outfit every single day if I want to is really helpful in positive self-image and reinforcing. I feel like putting on a cute outfit, it's not even that like I look cute, it's that I put in effort into how I look, so I not value myself more, but just take myself more seriously, I guess is what you could say. Like imagine you are going on a study session, and some of us love to be comfortable. I totally understand, but this is just my perspective and experience with it. Whenever I would just wear sweatpants and a hoodie, like I kind of felt very groggy and sleepy while I was studying. Like I didn't really feel like I felt like I was at home. But if I wore a cute outfit to my study sessions, I would take it a lot more seriously because I was just wearing a nicer outfit. Same with when I go to work, actually. Even currently, when I wear a nicer outfit, I feel a lot more like prepared for the day, and my mindset is just a lot more prepared and taking myself more seriously, I guess you could say, versus where like those days that I wear like a sweatpant and a hoodie, it just feels very like blah, you know? So you have to really kind of break down your growth into small habits that will help you get to where you want to be. Because when we do all this growth reflection and we're like, okay, I want to be X, Y, and Z in the future, it gets really overwhelming because we feel like there's such a huge gap between where we are now and where we want to be in the future. But these little habits, the things that you do every day, are literally the connecting path between you now and you in the future. So maybe your goal is, I want to be a more thoughtful person. Maybe to break that down and make that more realistic for yourself, you do something every single day that makes you more thoughtful and mindful. So maybe that could be 1 minute of meditation. Maybe that could be 1 minute of thinking away from your phone. Like, it doesn't even have to be such a big deal, I say in quotes, but it can be something very small. And again, it doesn't have to be huge time commitment, because I think that's something that turns a lot of people away. All right. My third idea is you have to schedule growth in every day, week, month, and year. This kind of goes back to growth is intentional. You have to schedule it in, kind of like a fitness class for yourself or whatever. It's something that you have to put in actionable steps towards and actually put effort into. So I'm going to give you examples of what I do daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, etc. So my schedule for growth is daily. I make time for fitness. That involves going to a class or going to the gym, because that helps me connect with my body. I journal every single day. That helps me reflect on where I'm at, maintain my mental health, maintain my emotional health. I do daily affirmations, as we do every single podcast. I do that every single day. This helps me train my mindset into speaking positively about myself, about my outcomes, about my future, and gives me motivation and hope. Last but not least, something I do daily also is reading. This helps me expand my mindset, expand how I think, be exposed to new ideas. That I think that those are all so important. So honestly, the fitness class takes an hour every single day. Journaling is like 10 minutes. Affirmations is 1 minute. Reading can be 5 to 10 minutes. You can decide how long you want to invest your time, or like how much time you can invest into these things. It really doesn't have to be like 3 hours every single day. It could be if you want, but it doesn't have to be. So that's my daily. My weekly, what I have been doing weekly now is on Saturday mornings, I will go to a coffee shop to do journaling and reflection. So that is my weekly reflection about my goals and my action steps. Also just like how I'm doing that week. But I really like that. I've been loving this journaling time in the morning. I know I journal every day, but the Saturday morning journal sessions are just a little bit different, and they hit a little bit different, and they're just so good. Also, what I've been doing is scheduling one fun activity that connects me to my inner child. So last week it was the pottery. This week I think I'm going to go bouldering. Just something that is fun, or seeing friends. Something that is genuinely fun and is not meant for monetary purposes, not meant for competition purposes, like something for pure recreation and enjoyment. Also, on a weekly basis, I do something creative. Obviously, that's doing my podcast and doing my vlog. But for you, that could be something else. That could be doing a puzzle. It could be I want to do more Sudokus, actually. That's one thing I want to get into. But something like that. I mean, you could also fit this in daily. One daily fun thing I do every day is play the Wordle and play the New York Times crossword, the mini crossword. And those are such like small, meaningless things. But honestly, when I do them, it gives me so much joy. So very simple things that make me so happy every single day. And it literally takes me like less than 10 minutes. So those are my weekly activities. doing a weekly reflection about the week, and then also one fun activity and creativity. On a monthly basis, I do my goal setting and review like I did for one of my podcast episodes recently. So that is a review of the month that has just passed, and then a look forward to what I want to do the next month, and also some goal setting. I find the monthly time period for setting goals is like enough time to take actionable steps, but then not so frequent that you feel like you have to do it every single, like the goals are changing or enough that I feel like there's a new goal every so often that I'm not getting bored with them. But it's also not so frequent because I honestly just don't have enough mental capacity to do it every single week. So I like the monthly time frame. So my goal setting is based on my social life, my personal life, my physical, mental, emotional health. So I talked about it in like a podcast episode 2 weeks ago, which was my March review and my April goals. Doing that every single month really helps me keep on track of where do I want to be by the end of this year? What are my big goals again? And then being able to break it down. So that's my monthly basis. And then on a yearly basis is like really considering big picture where you're at. One thing that I've found really helpful is taking progress pictures. And that doesn't just have to be about fitness. It can be about anything. I just think taking lots of pictures can really help you when you're looking at your big picture life again, like remind you of where you were at. So for me, I have this another Instagram account where only a few of my friends follow it. And I literally post every single day about what I'm up to. I post a picture of myself every single day before work, and then I'll post about what I'm doing, stuff like that. It's just like my spam account, and I do whatever I want on it. And, every day I'm like posting, and it doesn't really seem that different. I'm going to work every single day. But actually, one thing that came up this week about this that was really, really impactful for me was Instagram made like a memories thing, kind of like Snapchat memories. I remember when I used to use Snapchat, but it was basically my Instagram highlight memories. So it would show me what I had posted on that day 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, etc. And for this one day in particular, this week that I saw the memories thing, it had pictures from 2019. So I think it was like April 12th or April 11th. 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and obviously 2023. So I think like 2019, I had pictures of my friends from first year on there. 2020 was right in COVID. So I like took a video of the supermarket line and how we were all like social distancing. 2021 was me taking pictures of final season, but this was during like COVID era, so I was studying at home every single day. 2022 was again me studying for finals, but this time we were back in person at school, so I was studying like somewhere else, not at home. And then this year, when I posted my Instagram highlights, I was working and doing whatever. So in the day-to-day, taking these pictures really doesn't seem like much, but when I was able to reflect back to 4 years ago, I can really see how much my life has changed. And not just seeing those pictures and like those moments, but like thinking about who I was during that time period when those pictures were taken was like really, really impactful for me. So for me, taking pictures and being able to see them back has been really, really impactful for me in my growth, because I see how far I've come and I think about, okay, I can still keep going. Like this will be so much more impactful when I'm a few years down the line again. And it's important to appreciate where you're at. Obviously, I appreciate, oh my God, I've worked so hard this year. I finally moved out on my own, which is a goal that I've had since forever. And I'm doing all these things. But I can also appreciate still have so much further to go. I'm only 23. I'm going to be freaking 30 or 40 eventually one day, hopefully. And there's so much that I can still grow like on and learn on. So yeah, having that daily, weekly, monthly, and annual kind of growth, reflection, and intention, like growth every single day. I don't even know how to say it, but just scheduling growth in those ways really makes it very easy to make these steps more realistic, and also gives you kind of like a guiding path. Maybe the yearly part is too overwhelming because scheduling an entire year just feels like too much. You can start with daily. What am I going to do daily that helps me get to where I want to be? And then build up to weekly, monthly. Like, I didn't really start doing the monthly reflection thing until maybe this year, maybe like late last year. And that came with a lot of time. It doesn't happen all at once. So honestly, if you start to get overwhelmed, you have to remember that we take it small chunks at a time, and don't work yourself too hard. You'll get there. Okay. Last but not least, oh my gosh, this podcast has been going on forever. I know. My last thing that I want to talk about is your growth environment. So when I say environment, I think a lot of us immediately imagine, oh my God, I combined the two words together. Immediately imagine like the physical space, but I actually want to also think about time and space. Whoa, Matrix. There's kind of three aspects that I want to think about. Physical is literally who and what are you surrounding yourself by, and time is what are you spending your time on. So for physical, that is evaluating your friends and family. So who are you spending your time with? Because like everyone says, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. So as harsh as it is, you have to kind of evaluate the friends that you are spending the most time with and where they are at in their life and what are they doing with their life, because their success will determine your success. And this is why I think developing your ability to be alone is so important, because sometimes I feel like we stay in these toxic friendships, or just like friendships that don't match. It doesn't even have to be toxic. It just doesn't match because we are scared to be alone. But when you build your ability to be alone and you enjoy your own company, you won't tolerate for anything less than you deserve and less than you need. So is your energy matched with your friends right now? Like, would they support you in the dreams that you want to go on? Would you do the same for them? Are you in similar phases in your life? Like, are all your friends now moms and you're the only one who doesn't want a kid yet? Or are you all students and maybe you're the only one that's graduated? I don't even know. A lot of times for me, or actually all the friendship breakups that I have gone through, or all the people that have kind of left my life, I'm not really friends with anymore, are honestly all because of this reason. We were just not in similar phases of our lives. When I went through like my first friendship kind of drift apart era, I just started to realize more about myself, and I was like, like, you know what? I'm actually not really a person that loves to go and party every single night. I enjoy the occasional party, but maybe not to the degree of all these other people that I'm spending my time with. And so that really made me evaluate, like, who am I currently friends with, and do they share the same values as me? Do we spend the similar amount of time on similar things? And do we have the same goals? Because I think they don't have to perfectly match, of course, but the people who you are closest with, I think it should be quite similar. The intentions, I think. We don't have to be doing the same thing, but maybe we're all intending for the same goals. And then same with evaluating your family. I understand that with family, it's a little bit trickier because sometimes we're stuck in toxic situations with our family, or we can't really escape, or maybe it's that you don't have a relationship with your family. So I understand that there are a ton of different circumstances when it comes to family, but just evaluating where you're at. Maybe you're at a phase where your friends are your family. Maybe you're at a phase where your family are your friends. I have no idea where you're at. But I think evaluating, like for me, for example, me living at home with my family, I could tell was holding me back because I felt kind of stifled at home. I felt like I was always coddled. You know, they always saw me as a little girl, even when I was in university. And so finally I decided to move out. And maybe it did disappoint my family or kind of make them upset at first, but it really was what I needed for myself. And so I needed to do that. And so I did. Last but not least, we evaluate our job and kind of just how much time we are setting apart for it and what our intentions are with it, because nowadays jobs are honestly like so different for everyone. Some people, you know, really value a career where it's like, I want a long-term career where I can grow at this company and stay with the people I know. Some people are job hopping every single year. It's so different nowadays. But are you working a job? I think if you are valuing your job and not just seeing it as a means to an end, does it make you excited? It doesn't have to be your dream, but I think your job has to be somewhere that you can learn, at least. That's the most important thing. So maybe you are in your job, like for example, for me, with my math tutoring position, I stayed for so long because yes, I did eventually start learning new skills, which was selling the program to clients and doing phone calls and cold calls and all that. I actually learned a lot when I was doing that. But by the time I left my job in March, I had been doing that for so long that it was kind of like autopilot for me. It wasn't really like I was putting in my full effort into this. So that was when I knew I think it was time to take a step back. Jobs are undoubtedly very important. It is pretty much like the thing we will spend the most time on in our life. So I think that is why it is so important to kind of evaluate it. Again, it doesn't have to be your dream. Your job can just be what allows you to do your dream. You know, it can just be the thing that provides for your life. But given the fact that we are working so many hours for our jobs every single week, I think it is quite important to kind of do a reflection on it. So that is all I have to say for this episode. So it's kind of a combination of reflecting with where you're at, where you want to go, with a bunch of different aspects of your life. And then from there, we can kind of build a plan on how you want to tangibly achieve those goals and steps. It's not easy. Growth is very important, but it's not easy at all. And just know that I'm going through it too, and I have definitely been struggling. Growth is not linear. It's not like you're forever just going to be going towards your goals. Some days you'll make a few steps forward. Some days you'll take a few steps back. Growth is not linear. Growth is not a certain direction. It's just going. That's what I've learned too, is not seeing growth as like, oh, okay, every single day I have to get closer to my goal, because there are just times we can't do that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was super freaking long. I haven't done such a long episode in so many weeks, but I hope you enjoyed. This really, really inspired me. And obviously I am going through this literal phase right now. So that's kind of where this came from. But my camera's about to die and overheat. So I will talk to you in my next episode. Bye.
And I was like, yo.